Good morning. You're with me, Tanima Biswas, and our top story. It's been 1 week since the nationwide resident doctors' protest, but the government has not given any assurances yet to the protesting doctors. Resident doctors, remember, continue to protest over the issue of delay in NEET-PG counselling. OPD services remain closed due to doctors' strike. The doctors have been saying that they are overworked and overburdened and that the delay in NEET-PG counselling is delaying the process further of inducting new doctors into the system. In fact, this is an issue that we have been closely following in Mirror now, where we are bringing the voices of these doctors also who are in fact constantly saying that they are asking for their rights, that they're overburdened, that there's a shortage of roughly around 40,000 doctors in the system nationwide. That's the figure that is being quoted by these protesting doctors. But what we can in fact see is that none of the government has not in fact reached out or given any assurances yet. So what we can in fact see is that this is the strike of the doctors, resident doctors across the country, in several parts of the country, has in fact gone on for 1 week, more than a week now, in fact, 8 days on. But there's no movement from the government side in terms of giving any sort of assurance to them. Doctors are constantly saying that they're overburdened, but the government is completely unmoved with their appeal. Let me go across to my colleague Deepak for more on this. Deepak, what we can in fact see is that the doctors have of course been on strike, the resident doctors, primarily for the NEET-PG counselling delay. But that is of course the main demand that they have, that there should not be any delay in that, and that the process of inducting new doctors into the system should be speeded up by the government.
Well, as of now, it's not very clear why the approach of the government has been quite lackadaisical in this particular matter, because the health minister, day before yesterday, visited the hospital nearby to the Victoria Hospital, where this protest, of course, is going on at a very large scale for the last 4 days in Bengaluru. He failed to visit the doctors who are protesting. Multiple demands, of course, have been put forth. One of the demands that you mentioned, they've also been speaking about the non-payment of the COVID allowance. They've even been mentioning, other issues like the stipend payment, restructuring of salaries. These are all several demands that have been put forth time and again. But at this point in time, it seems like the dialogue between the resident doctors and the government has not reached any sort of conclusion. And that seems to be the causing concern, because especially when we are facing the threat of a new variant and rising cases, the service of these doctors would be quite essential. And to have them protest, to be on strike, is not something that the government would want in the coming days.
Right, Deepak, thank you so much for joining us on that. I'm also joined in the broadcast by Dr. Rahul. He's one of the doctors who's protesting, as part of the nationwide protest. Dr. Rahul, what we can in fact see is that the resident doctors across the country have been protesting primarily on the NEET-PG counselling delay. We have to, of course, keep in mind that this has been 1 week or so, but also essentially the fact that the government has been largely unmoved and no assurances from them yet on this particular issue of overburdened doctors.
Yes, that's absolutely right.
Right, please go ahead with your point. Yeah.
Yes. Doctors all over India are protesting against the delay of the NEET-PG counselling. So that's become a very worrisome issue, because the next junior set of doctors are not here to see the large number of patients who come here every day. And the hospitals are functioning with just 2/3 of the capacity, just with 60% of the doctors, but whereas the patient load is 100%. So it's really difficult here to manage the crowd and to give the needed care, the quality of care for the patients.
Right, exactly. In fact, the point being that what we can in fact see is that, in Karnataka specifically, since you're from there, there are two aspects to it. Of course, the Karnataka doctors have been protesting about the fact that they also wanted their COVID allowance. But also in other parts of the country, we are bringing the voices of doctors where they are also putting up other issues like how they are underpaid and they're working long hours. And the fact is that the government does not seem to be cognizant or aware of the fact that there is a serious shortage of doctors, especially especially since doctors have been our COVID heroes at the forefront, who have been fighting the battle for us amid the pandemic, and now there's the Omicron threat also around the corner.
Yes, definitely. Since to address these problems, I think the doctors have decided to stay united and to pressurize the government to make them aware of our problems. And we hope they respond soon to our demands. And the NEET-PG counselling be expedited. And the Supreme Court, we hope the Supreme Court takes a stand at the earliest.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Rahul, for joining us with that. I'm also joined by Dr. Tejas in the broadcast. Dr. Tejas, what we can in fact see is that, the doctors have taken to the streets in different parts of the country. They have several demands, primarily due to the fact that there's a shortage of doctors that they are highlighting. But what we can in fact see is that the government so far has not given out any assurance. If they could hear your voice through our broadcast, what would you like to say to the government? What exactly do they need to know about the situation that the doctors are facing today and why they have taken to the streets to protest? Dr. Tejas, if you can hear my voice. Okay, we'll reconnect with Dr. Tejas, but essentially there you can see that we are bringing this as one of the main issues that we are looking at here in Mirror Now, where doctors, resident doctors across the country have in fact been on strike, but there's no assurance from the government yet. Doctors are saying that they have been overburdened, and this NEET-PG delay, counselling delay, is in fact adding more stress to the system. Dr. Tejas, if you could hear me, let me try and reconnect with Dr. Tejas once again. Dr. Tejas, what would you like to say to the government? Okay, we seem to be having some technical difficulties there. We will reconnect with Dr. Tejas once again on this, but essentially an important issue that we are tracking closely here on Mirror Now.